I do want to briefly talk about something. Say hello to YouTube chat. Hello, YouTube. Fox VTuber from Twitch saying hello. And behave, y'all. Behave. Okay, a little context. I have been playing I did play FF14 for ever since 2014-ish. 20 When did The Realm Reborn come out? 2010? No, that's FF14. Yeah, sorry, 2013. 2013 is when it released. Yeah. 2013 is when A Realm Reborn released. I started playing FF14 since 2014, very fitting for the year name. And I never missed a month of sub ever since. Yeah, the original game ran for 3 years. I'm surprised it lasted that long. So yeah. So ever since I played FF14 in 2014, that was about patch 2.35 or 38. One of the biggest updates to the game was adding Ninja / Rogue as a free class, a free job. And I read an article, and the article was actually what got me hooked to FF14. The article asked Yoshi P, why would you add a major content like a free class or a free job for free? When most of their contemporaries, especially WoW, they did not add a new class or a new race. Basically, new major content, unless it came with an expansion. And Yoshi P's response really sold me to the game. And he said somewhere along the lines of, wouldn't the players want that? And from then on, I got sold. Like, I knew that this game was in good hands. So, and I was kind of like a WoW refugee, but not really. It's not like I was playing WoW right before that, but I was like recovering from MMORPGs. So I found a new home in terms of MMORPG. I left Azeroth behind and I went to Eorzea, and I had so much fun with that game. And since then, I never missed a sub. The only time I missed a sub really was last year. Even when I wasn't playing, because of my love for the game and my support for FF14 and Yoshi P, even if I didn't play the game for like a month, I still subbed. I didn't even have a house. I did not even have an in-game house back then, which means my in-game house right now has been demolished. Yeah, that means somebody for sure has taken up my house in-game. I hope they have fun with that plot. It is a very nice plot in Gridania, but yeah, anyway. Tangent, right? Since then, I never missed a month of sub because I just love the game. I love Yoshi P, and I also love the community and my guildies, my free company friendos, both the casuals and the hardcore raiders. We had a good time. We had a ball of a time. We had so much fun. But last year, I did start playing WoW. But that was after I finished Dawn Trail, and a lot of things happened around the release of Dawn Trail, and this is where I really started to drift away, so to speak. And I'm not pinning this on like me stopping not playing FF14 on Dawn Trail. No, I'm not. This is not one of those Dawn Trail videos. No, there's a lot of those, but some of them have very good reasonings for that. So It's totally fair. Like, yeah. I've seen a lot of the big and relatively small FF14 streamers and YouTubers making videos on like Dawn Trail and the state of FF14 right now. I've seen their opinions, heard it, and playing through Dawn Trail, I'm able to confidently make opinions of my own and see like similarities and differences with theirs. And not to say that they are wrong, but see where I can agree or disagree with what they have to say and sort of like come to an understanding as to why I feel and think about the game right now. And again, I just want to emphasize, me stopping not playing FF14 is not because of Dawn Trail. Dawn Trail is... Sorry. Me not playing FF14 anymore has nothing to do with Dawn Trail as an expansion intrinsically, but what happened around the release of Dawn Trail and I guess a little bit of introspection as well, right? So, for those who don't know, FF14 peaked in popularity with Shadowbringers, and despite Endwalker kind of being like Avengers Endgame Infinity War in terms of like, you know, it's the culmination of a story that's been building up since 2013. Like, quite literally, Endwalker, I'm doing my best not to spoil anyone, Endwalker builds it, Endwalker is the exclamation point, the period at the end of everything we have been experiencing since Our Realm Reborn. Everything is tied together, not conveniently, very properly and very respectfully. It's tied together. And even the base game before Our Realm Reborn is even respected and referenced several times through Endwalker. But Endwalker is not even like peak popularity or player numbers. No, it was Shadowbringers. Shadowbringers was something else. And Endwalker really felt like, you know, the end of the light and dark saga of Final Fantasy XIV, the Zodiark Hydaelyn saga, and that's exactly what it felt like. And I think kind of like what a lot of Marvel fans felt after Avengers Endgame, that was like a natural ending. Like, it's not like everything after that was subjectively bad. It's just that we didn't have a drive or an incentive or an impetus, right, to get, or there's no investment anymore. So a lot of Marvel fans probably, I'm assuming, were looking for something to get them invested in the next story beat, because that's what Iron Man 1 was initially was, right? It wasn't just some one-off like superhero movie and then we're gonna make a franchise for it. No, every single Marvel movie after Iron Man was connected and a build-up to Avengers. And everything before Avengers Infinity War and Endgame was also a build-up to that. And Final Fantasy XIV is not so different. Like, every expansion served the purpose, be it big or small, it served a purpose of culminating and building up to the grand finale that is Endwalker. And I enjoyed it. And I booted up, I played Dawn Trail day one on launch with as little expectations as possible. But again, the natural ending of the saga, Endwalker, did play against me. Like, if there is one expectation I had for Dawn Trail, my expectation was, shit, like, this is a new story arc. It better hit the right notes. I'm not going to compare it directly to the Light and Dark saga. Like, even if the Warrior Flight is no longer a central main character, I honestly do not mind. I honestly don't. But I just want them to like deliver this new arc properly, and every arc must have a central character. It really is the case. If you think about the Avengers, who is the main character of the Avengers? It's not every single Avenger. No, I think it's centered around the dynamic of Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. Like, I honestly think, because both of them, despite being the same organization, they represent two crucial parts of the Avengers. Tony Stark is the strategist, he's the mind of the Avengers, but Steve, Captain America, he's the heart. You cannot have the Avengers without both, right? You can't have the Avengers without both. And every aspect, every hero that was added to the roster reflected a portion of Tony Stark and Captain America, in the sense that, are they the heart or are they part of the mind of the Avengers? And when it comes to story arcs, you need a focus. Like, players, people who are reading, watching, consuming any creative work, they kind of need that, right? Like, we are very fickle-minded beings. We need some sauce. We need something that catches our attention. And I think that is what played against me as I got into Dawn Trail. Like, I still vividly remember playing every second, every minute of Dawn Trail, and I enjoyed it. I genuinely enjoyed it. I loved every single character, be it a main character, side character, antagonist, deuteragonist, secondary protagonist, and antagonist. I absolutely loved Dawn Trail. In terms of like combat music, as usual, FF14 hit that out of the ballpark really well. But the one major thing where I'm not even sure how to put it to words, I don't know if I'm not angry. I'm not overtly negative or angry about it, but I did feel like something was lacking. And I honestly I do not blame anyone in the team, because it's not easy, right? It's not easy trying to build something from the base, from square one, after something as successful as Shadowbringers and Endwalker. That ain't easy. That is not easy. I mean, you guys can see clear as day the state of Marvel right now, the MCU. Depending on how you look at it and how much of a fan you are, it's either in shambles, it's meh, it's okay, or just not interested. And that is totally fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinions. And me personally, with FF14, like, I'm lacking any emotional investment right now. And the thing is, I saw clear as day throughout my playing through Dawn Trail that there were attempts. Like, they really wanted the Scions to take on another kind of role than they did during the events of the saga of Hydaelyn and Zodiark. Every member of the Scions of the Seventh Dawn either drastically or marginally changed from what they used to be before that. And clearly, the Warrior of Light is in this place where there is no big task that is no big task, no big obligation that is directly tethered to their existence. Like, we already did what we had to do as the Warrior of Light and our other identity. So we are practically just like any ordinary adventurer in Eorzea, and that is okay. Like, and I do remember in an interview, Yoshi P said that after delivering very dark, very heavy story beats with Shadowbringers and Endwalker, and of course his involvement in FF16, he wanted to deliver something happier, something more vibrant, and I was all for it. I was thumbs up, like, yeah, I understand that. And I knew already when he said that, like, there are going to be a lot of people who are not going to take this well. And the thing is, I always respect, or at least I try to respect the vision and the desire of the writer, the creator, and producer of these games. Like, we're basically playing the game, we're paying for the game, or we're just watching the game. That's pretty much it. But of course, on what authority do our words have? Essentially, our money. We do pay. We do. It's literally pay to play subscription based game, and I'm not saying that's bad. Like, the subscription does pay for the quality, should pay for the quality of the game, and over the past few years, it has. So if Yoshi P says he wants to go brighter, more vibrant story, all right, go for it. If he says he wants to go back to dark stories, like, okay, go for it. Like, historically, he has proven that he can deliver quality content, quality writing, and whatnot. Him and his team can do that. So I had faith that he can do that. But yeah, where Dawn Trail missed the mark for me was finding a central character that really drew me in. And the thing is, there is potential. I don't want to write off the current cast we have for Dawn Trail as a failed attempt, because again, we're not even halfway through the expansion. We're not. I think we just we're still in 7.1. I think the next patch is what, 7.2? I'm currently lost. Don't quote me on that. But the last update released an alliance raid, which is nice. And if I recall correctly, they released an ultimate 24, or was it Savage 24-man raid, so more hardcore content, which is nice. But yeah, other than that, I think they really want to make Wuklamat more central to the story, and I'm all for it. I like Wuklamat. I like her character. Voice work for her was really good, and like I said, I think they were quite hesitant or unsure to play more risks with Wuklamat. Like, her characterization in Dawn Trail was very quite safe, I would say, for like FF14 writing standards. Like, again, I'm not comparing Wuklamat to Warrior of Light, nor am I comparing her to the more iconic antagonists like Xenos, Emmet Selk, Elidibus, etc. I'm not comparing her to them because Emmet Selk is Emmet Selk, Xenos is Xenos, or Xenos, I already forgot at this point. Elidibus is Elidibus. It's fine. Hydaelyn is Hydaelyn. Wuklamat is Wuklamat. Warrior of Light is Warrior of Light. I'm not gonna compare them. But what I do think they lacked was getting me invested as much as I was invested in the characters I just mentioned. And in my opinion, I was more drawn to Bakul Jaja's character. Like, this character in Dawn Trail who was just a character you love to hate. You just really hated his guts. When you get to this one part in the story, I'm just like, I still do not forgive you for what you did throughout this entire expansion, but shit, dude, I feel for you. I feel you. I was more invested in Bakul Jaja than I was with Wuklamat, and don't get me wrong, I still love Wuklamat. I'm not going back on what I said. I'm not comparing Wuklamat with Bakul Jaja, but my feelings, my investments for them is what I am comparing them to. Like, I felt more drawn to Bakul Jaja than I was for Wuklamat. And I think that has something to do with the second half of the story, where Wuklamat clearly is more is still more central to the story by Act 2 of Dawn Trail compared to Bakul Jaja. But like, again, they just hoisted Bakul Jaja so high up on this pedestal that he is still catching my attention. He's still lurking at the back of my mind, cackling as he sees us go with Wuklamat. And I'm still like having difficulty letting go. And by the time I have, like, I'm already presented with everything going on in part 2, the new area, the new characters, the new story beats, new, like, wow, like, this is a lot. I'm not saying I was overwhelmed, because, like, again, I've been playing FF14 since patch 2.35, 2.38 in A Realm Reborn, so I'm very familiar with how their story can ramp up, how it can slow down, speed down, if that makes any sense. The pacing of new characters in new areas, I'm used to it. Like, it's not something I did not see before. But like I said, it's very clear that the team really wanted me or its players to really get invested in specific characters in specific ways. And I think the way they did it, I wouldn't say they did it wrong, but there's just something lacking. Like, even though, take for example Shadowbringers. I'm doing my best to skirt around spoilers because there are some people in chat, I'm pretty sure a lot of you haven't played arguably the best Final Fantasy game ever. Yeah, I treat each expansion as its own FF game. That's how good FF14 is as a story game, right? Shadowbringers is arguably FF14's best entry ever. And one of the first characters we are introduced to is it's a community meme. Please no spoil. Yeah, I'm doing my best, Rocket. It's a community meme, and I've seen clips of streamers reacting to this part, and it's always players who know this part. You guys know it. It's called Welcome to Shadowbringers. Yeah, that scene. I see that scene and I'm like, I remember this scene vividly. I was so invested in this character. And this character is a side character. But I was invested. And because this character was a side character, I was able to let go of said character when the story demanded to. Because I'm like, okay, that's okay. But there are other characters in the expansion where I was invested in them too. But if the story dictated that, yeah, they're not going to be the focus, we want you to draw your focus somewhere else, I was able to, because, again, the scope and coverage of said characters were done so well that they don't stand out so much that I'm hyper focusing on them, unless that is the purpose. Or, like, they're not so forgettable that I'm like, skip. I don't want to hear what you have to say because you're just not. You're practically a waste of time. No, there wasn't a character that did that for me in Shadowbringers. In Dawntrail, there wasn't either. But like I said, it's not that they were lackluster in terms of like introducing characters. It's, again, for me, it felt like they really wanted, as they should, right? Make a central character that draws attention and is the center of the whole new arc, which, again, I do not even know what to call this arc. But A Realm Reborn, as early as A Realm Reborn, it was very clear that it was the saga of Light and Dark, because it's the Scions versus the Asians. It's always about Light and Dark. As early as A Realm Reborn, we already knew that. But again, maybe it's because, again, I'm not defending FF14 at this point, but I'm just trying to assume for the best, right? I want to assume on the side of the developers and not, like, you know, bias or whatever the internet has to say, right? Maybe they are easing us in. Like, maybe Yoshi P and Co knows that we are still riding off the hype and all of our emotional investment in the Light and Dark saga, all the way from A Realm Reborn to Endwalker, and having us trying to let go of that is a big ask, and I have to agree, it is a very big ask. But this easing in, I'm going to assume they are trying to ease us in into the new story arc, and that's tough. Like, again, every expansion cycle is about 056, all right? Every expansion has about 6 seasons. You have 3 Alliance raid tiers and 3 8-man raid tiers, and each season, which is 6, the first one, 0.0, is always the biggest one, right? Because that's the expansion launch. And then from 1 to 5, 0.1 to 0.5 is when you have the remainder. It's a combination of the remainder of the expansion and the lead up to the next one. And it is a monumental task of you're trying to finish the tail end of Dawn Trail. You're trying to start the hype and build up, tease the story for the next expansion, but at the same time, you are trying to... Yoshi P & Co. has to get players ready for the new story arc, which again, I have no idea. Like, no clear idea. It can be a million things right now, what the new story arc is. But I think this story arc really is about the Science, or at least the Warrior of Light, taking advice that they took from a character at the end of the Light and Dark saga of broaden your horizons, right? Like, we're only used to the current continents of Eorzea that we do know, and Toral is completely new. Like, there were so many areas mentioned, and I'm like, are we dropping potential expansion areas right now? And I think that is the arc now, but that is very broad. That is a very broad focus for an arc, because again, the focus of the previous arc was Light and Dark, Hydaelyn and Zodiark. Hey, that rhymes. That was the main focus of the first arc, despite every expansion. Like, you know, A Realm Reborn was about A Realm Reborn was about the 3 city-states, right? And Garlemald. And then Heavensward was about Ishgard. Stormblood was about crap, what was it called again? Alamigo. And then Shadowbringers and Endwalker had their own region. But despite those stories taking place in regions with their own stories, Ishgard had its own story. Kogane Alamigo had its own story. Shadowbringers Endwalker had its own story in its regions. But the arc, the overarching, encroaching, whatever, sorry, English is failing me right now, the big picture was still the same. It's still Light and Dark, Hydaelyn and Zodiark. It's still the same thing. And right now, like, I don't have that investment in Dawn Trail right now. And I'm not... I really cannot put fault, honestly. I really cannot point at anyone in the team right now, because, like, I don't know. Like, I just do not have it in me to do that. I'm pretty sure the entire team can see what's happening around the game, like player feedback, videos like this. Very questionable tweets, I guess. Yeah, I don't want to go into detail on that, but you guys should know what I'm talking about at this point. It was very viral around June, July of last year. It was a bad time to be a FF14 fan at that time. It was bad. I'll just say that much. It was bad. Just a lot of FF14 community members, players being very unreasonably toxic and mean. And that is what I am not going to do at this point. I'm not going to blame anyone. I'm not going to pin this on any specific person or group of people. But really, just through introspection, I think that it's a lot of things playing against me that is not like intrinsically the team's fault. I just really attribute it quite similarly to the MCU right now, where at the end of Avengers Endgame, it feels like a natural ending. And the thing is, like, my character is not a self-insert. My character in FF14 is not a self-insert, but I am very emotionally invested in my character, and I treat my character like she is her own intelligent being, okay? She can make her own damn decisions. It's weird, but that's just how I treat that is just how I treat video game characters. That's just how I am. And I am totally fine with my Warrior of Light not being the center of the story. After being the center of the story for God knows how many expansions, right? For 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 1. 6. For 6 expansions, which, if we include 2010, for nearly 14 years, I think it's fine that my character is no longer like the one. All right, I think it's okay. We've had that. Like, I really loved how my character evolved, how I found out more about my character. It was fucking awesome. Shadowbringers and Endwalker, like, it's very fitting. It's very fitting that it took Shadowbringers and Endwalker for us to realize, players, how big of a deal our character is, because everyone treats us like a big deal. And through our player actions and experience, like what we've done in A Realm Reborn, Heavensward, Stormblight, yeah, we're big shit here. Like, I just saved your ass. I saved this city from a primal again. You guys celebrate it like it's Hydalin's gift from the heavens, but for the Warrior Flight, it's just another Tuesday. That's through player action. But in Shadowbringers and Endwalker, it's not just player action, it's lore. We are a big deal, not because, again, I'm really doing my best to skirt around the edge, because not just Rocket, there are some of you that haven't played, and I want you guys to play through it without, like, blindly as possible. But through lore reasons, we discover a lot of things about our characters, and I'm like, holy shit, this is cool. I had nothing to do with this, but it makes sense. That's the best part. It's not like quote-unquote lazy writing or just writing for the sake of, you know, like, yeah, we of course players want their main character to be like some Final Fantasy Jesus or something, you know, power fantasy and shit. No, it wasn't like that. I genuinely felt when we discovered more about my character, I'm like, wait, this is lore. And it makes sense now, because the way story writing was done, like, there were few times where I'm like, am I not too powerful for this? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Now it makes sense. Now it actually makes sense. And after all that, Dawn Trail felt like a vacation for the Warrior of Light, and I think that's fine. I mean, jokingly, in a good way, Dawn Trail is a vacation for the Warrior of Light, because it is supposed to be. It really, really is supposed to be. And I remember the memes. Of Dawn Trail, of, like, when we fought the first trial boss. Like, yeah, for the citizens of Tural, it was the fight for their own existence, their safety, and their people. Same goes for Wuklamat. She was fighting for her people. But for the Warrior Flight, just another Tuesday. And like I said, that is honestly fine. I have no qualms with that. But again, this is why I have stopped playing Final Fantasy XIV in particular. I did try my hand at WoW, but I play WoW almost exclusively casually. The most hardcore thing I do is Mythic dungeons, and I think the highest key I've done is maybe 6 or 7. That's baby numbers for the hardcore community of WoW. And like, I've been taking a break because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed I enjoyed War Within. I had so much fun playing through it. The dungeons, the content. It was fun. And with FF14, like, I stopped because I just do not have any emotional investment right now. And that is something that content cannot do. Like, they can add something as crazy as Blitzball or what is something that's always in a rhythm game, right? They can add Blitzball, a rhythm game, a dating sim in FF14, and it may get my interest peaked, but it will not get me back into the game for like the long run. Like it won't, because I still lack that emotional investment. And I really think it's not content that does that. It's for a game like Final Fantasy XIV, whose strongest point has always been its story. The emotional investment comes with the story. So yeah, like I think that is why I won't be playing FF14 for the time being and anytime soon. Like I'm just not invested in it anymore. And for those who are, I'm glad that you are. Please, it is a great game. Like I always say whenever I share my thoughts about these things, please formulate your own opinions. I mean, have you heard of the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV that comes with a free trial up to level 70 that includes the entirety of A Realm Reborn and the award-winning expansions Heavensward and Stormblood with no time restrictions? The fact that I still remembered that should already speak volumes enough of how much I love the game. I haven't played the game for over a year now, nearly, and I still remember that. That stays with me because every moment I spent in that game, I was very happy. I had so much fun. Right now, though, I am not. But does that mean that FF14, Final Fantasy XIV, is a bad game right now? Is that what it means? No. I don't even see the game. I do not even see the game. I do not see FF14 as, yeah, FF14 has failed me. No, it hasn't. It really just is more of my own sentiment and attachment to the game is working against me. That for me is what's working against me right now. Like, after playing through the Light and Dark saga, the Hydaelyn and Zodiark saga, Dawntrail has to work so much harder compared to a player that's just getting into FF14. That's why it's working against me. And honestly, for Yoshi P and the team, do what you think is best, because this game is not our game, it's your game. And whatever vision you have for the game, do what you have been doing for the past few years. You have listened to our feedback, filtered the toxic bad ones with the ones that matter, and you have turned the game around so many times. And I have no doubt that you will do it again. But yeah, for the last time for a long while, once again, Foxtrots, have you heard of the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV that includes the entirety of A Realm Reborn and the award-winning expansions Heavensward and Stormblood with no time restrictions?